Dr. Ghosh, please unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. So, good evening. Hearty welcome to our today's research person, Dr. V. Gayathri, and all virtual participants. We, that means Department of Botany, Shiva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Flora and Fauna Asia Facebook group, in collaboration with DRISHTICON organization, are organizing webinars on biodiversity and environment. So far, we have conducted 46 webinars. This is our 47th webinar. We are organizing these webinars for knowledge dissemination only. We and our resource persons all are doing our work voluntarily. Hope all are benefited from such type of webinars. We have one YouTube channel. After the end of this webinar, you will get the YouTube video link of this webinar in group, either in WhatsApp or in Telegram. I am requesting all of you to subscribe the channel so that our channel will be facilitated somehow for YouTube streaming from mobile. Today's lecture will be on organic farming and it is under Environment and Development Series 2. This is third lecture under this Series 2. Participants do not ask the feedback link. At the end of the lecture, you will get today's feedback link. As this series is for 10 lectures, you will get participation certificate after the completion of the series. Don't worry, enjoy today's lecture. Today's topic of lecture is organic farming, sustainable agriculture for future. So, I would like to request Dr. Debabrata Das, admin, Flora and Fauna Asia Facebook group, and Associate Professor of Botany, Government General Degree College, Lalgarh, to introduce today's respected resource person and speaker. Dr. Das.
Yes, madam. Thank you, madam. Today's resource person is Dr. V. Gayathri, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Avinashilingam Institute for Home Science and Higher Education for Women, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. Madam is working in the field of organic farming, biofertilizer, production, application, etc. Her teaching experience 14 years and more. She did her MSc in Botany from Madras University in the year 1996. Madam did PhD from Madras University in the year 2002 under the guidance of Professor N. Anand in the field of algology. She published more than 41 papers in international and national journals. Book chapter published 4, minor research project 1, guided 1 MPhil student, and award received 4, 2 in research field and 2 in teaching field. Madam done work as NSS program officer for 3 years and more. Now she is doing good, that is application and productions of microbial biofertilizer, algal biofertilizer, and so on. So now I would request Madam, please present your PPT before the audience. Madam.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. So I would like to thank all the organizers for giving me an opportunity to present in this online platform. So especially Dr. Debabrata Das and Dr. Pampi Ghosh, who has given me this opportunity. So now shall I present the screen, sir?
Madam, yes.
Okay. Is it visible, sir? Yes, sir?
Yes,
madam.
It is
visible.
visible.
Okay.
Yes,
Can I
madam.
start?
It is visible.
Can I start? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay. So first of all, I would like to dedicate my lecture to our Ayya and Amma Vargal and our late Padma Shri Dr. P.R. Krishna Kumar, our most revered Chancellor. So the topic of my presentation is organic farming, sustainable agriculture for future. So you know what is organic farming? So farming in which we should avoid the use of pesticides, mainly the chemical fertilizers and the other type of pesticides. So we should maximum try to utilize the organic based fertilizer. That is, we can use the biofertilizer or the vermicompost or vegetable compost. So those are the organic fertilizers that can be used for the cultivation of crops. So what actually is organic farming? So organic farming works in harmony with nature rather than against it. So this is the main technique which helps in improving the soil fertility. And this involves techniques to achieve good crop yields without harming the natural environment or the people who live and work on it. So according to United States Department of Agriculture 1980, organic farming is a system which avoids or largely excludes the use of synthetic inputs such as fertilizers, pesticides, hormones and feed additives. And instead, we can use the crop rotation methods, crop residues, animal manures and off-farm organic waste. So according to the Food and Agriculture Organization 2002, organic farming is a holistic production management system that promotes and enhances health of agroecosystem, including biodiversity, biological cycles and soil biological activity. So we know biodiversity means both plant and animal diversity, which includes the biodiversity, and biological cycle, which include the nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, sulfur cycle, water cycle, phosphorus cycle, etc. So what are the basic components of organic farming? So it includes the green leaf manures, the crop rotation method, biological management, animal husbandry, biofertilizers, manures and vermicompost. So why should we actually select this organic farming? So it is the sustainable and eco-friendly technology. So now we are coming to the topic of sustainability. That is, when we use the chemical fertilizers, when as the days go, the soil becomes infertile. So it loses all the nutrition. So nutrition is lost, then even the pollution, it pollutes the environment. So we need to maintain the fertility of the soil, thereby minimizing the pollution in the environment. So for that we need to use the organic farming method. So it is the sustainable and eco-friendly technology. It improves the quality, shelf and nutritive value of the farm produce. It encourages the sustainable livelihood of the producers as well as safeguards consumers' health. Not only that, it also helps in improving the physical, chemical and biological health of the soil, promotes healthy use of the natural resources and minimizes all forms of the pollution. It enhances and sustains biological diversity within the system. So what are the main aims of organic farming? So it is to maintain the long-term fertility of the soil and also to reduce the input cost, effectively utilize the natural resources and avoid all forms of pollution caused by the agriculture techniques, and to the farmers to provide a quality foodstuff which in turn will be given to the consumers. So the main objective involved around this organic farming, one is to produce a nutritionally, that is high quality food, and to work with the natural system, that is the ecosystem, to maintain and increase the soil fertility and use renewable sources as far as possible, avoid pollution, and it should have a wider social and ecological impact, and it should satisfy the agricultural producer as well as the consumer. So what are the main basic techniques used in this organic farming. So in the first one, we have the mulching, in which we use the green leaves or the dried leaves fallen from the trees, which can be used as a fertilizer, and the biofertilizer use of the azospirillum and the vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza and the algal biofertilizer. And vermicompost is nothing but the use of composting method using earthworms. So Eisenia foetida is one of the form which can be used to compost the organic compounds. Then the seed treatments. So the seed can be treated with various organic fertilizers and sown in the field for further growth. So this organic farming system, it is involved around all the natural ecosystem components, that is the soil, crop, people and the livestock. So there are mainly four important principles of organic farming. One is the principle of health, the second one principle of ecology, the third one principle of fairness, and the fourth one principle of care. So what I mean by principle of health? So we should help in improving the health of the soil, plant, animal, human and planet. And in the ecology, it should be based on the living ecological system and the cycle. As I said earlier, all the geochemical cycles should be involved, and we should work with them, emulate them and help in sustaining them. And the principle of fairness, that is, we should give equal opportunities to the farmers as well as the consumers. And the principle of care, the organic farming should be managed in a precautionary and responsible manner to protect the health and well-being of current and future generations and the environment. So only if we use this organic farming method, we will be able to provide the future generation with good air as well as water. Nowadays, due to this COVID situation, we are taking the oxygen cylinders and we are using it. That is mainly because of the person, they are not able to know how to produce this air. So we are polluting the air by using the chemical fertilizer. So we should try to shift from the chemical fertilizer use to organic farming. So organic manure, that is, the manure is nothing but the organic matter which is used as a fertilizer in the agriculture. So it mainly increases the fertility of the soil. So how do they increase the fertility? They add the organic matter and nutrients. So main nutrient, that is the macro and micronutrients which are available in the soil, it should be available to the plants too. So the plants, they require nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So that nitrogen is very, very essential for the growth of the plant. So that is trapped by the bacteria in the soil. So you would have all learnt about the legume rhizobium symbiosis. So wherein the rhizobium, that is the bacteria, helps in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen and to the soil and in the form of root nodules. So the organic manures, commonly we use the farmyard manure, the green manure, that is the leaves, vermicompost, the crop residues and biofertilizers. So we will see one by one in a small slides. So farmyard manure, so which is the readily available form, that is the cow dung. You would have heard cow dung, it is the important manure for the farmers. So it is readily available and it is the most important agricultural byproduct. So what are the main advantages and why should we use this farmyard manure? So it has the ability to improve the soil, the tilth and as well as the aeration. So the soil aeration is increased due to the application of the farmyard manure. So it not only that, it also increases the water holding capacity of the soil. So sometimes we might not be having time to water the plants, but the farmyard manure, it will hold the water and for 1 or 2 days the plants can withstand the water present in them. Then it also stimulates the activity of the microorganisms that made plant food elements in the soil readily to the crops. So this is the slide taken from the fertilizer statistics, that is the presence of nitrogen, phosphorus pentoxide and potassium oxide in various concentrations. That is, the animal refuse can be used either in the form of cattle dung and urine mixed, either in the fresh form or in the dry form, that is the farmyard manure in the dry form, and also the poultry manure can be used in the fresh form. So it gives different concentrations of nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, which is an essential macronutrients for the growth of the plants. So what about the green manures? So green manure, it is the type of cover crop grown primarily to add nutrients and organic matter to the soil. So the practice of ploughing or turning into the soil under compost green plant tissue for the purpose of improving the physical condition as well as the fertility of the soil is referred to as green manuring. That is, we need to plough the soil, and while ploughing we can add the leaves, dry leaves as well as the fresh leaves fallen from the trees, which will help in increasing the nutrient capacity of the soil. So the green manure crops should have profuse leaves and rapid growth early in its life cycle, and it should have abundance and succulent tops and be capable of making a good stand on poor and exhausted soils. And the green manure crops that is selected should have a deep root system. It may be leguminous plant with good nodular growth habit. So these are some of the green manuring crops that can be used for manuring. So we have the sun hemp, Crotalaria junctia, Daincha, Sesbania aculeata, Mung, Phaseolus aureus, and cowpea, Vigna sinensis. All these can be used for the Kharif season crops. And for the Rabi season crops, we can use Senji, that is Melilotus alba, Kesari, Lathyrus sativus, and Bersin trifolium alexandria. So whatever crop is available, that is the green manure is available in our area, we can use it according to the season. So next, coming to the composting, we have two types of composting mainly. One is aerobic composting and the second one is anaerobic composting. So aerobic composting, we know aerob means that is the presence of oxygen. So oxygen is essential for the composting process. So this means to compost with air. So organic waste will be broken down quickly and it is not prone to smell. So if it is in open air condition, then it avoids smell. So this type of composting is high maintenance since it will need to be turned every couple of days to keep air in the system and the temperature also. So we should maintain the temperature as well as the air condition in the system. So it also likely to require accurate moisture monitoring, and this type of compost is good for large volume of compost. So if we are going to use a ground where we can put all the waste, and if we are going to compost it, then it is better we go for aerobic composting. So this is the procedure to compost the aerobic composting. And the second is anaerobic composting. So anaerobic composting is composting without air. So it requires low maintenance. Yes, ma'am?
আমি তোমাকে তুমি ওই কাগজগুলো কিন্তু খুব সাবধান মা
Shomi madam.
Someone is talking.
Shomi madam. Please mute yourself, Shomi madam.
Shall I continue, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So anaerobic composting is the process of composting without the presence of air. So it requires low maintenance and it can be thrown in the pile form and we can wait for a couple of years. So this takes many years to break down the organic matter, but in the way it creates an awful smell because there is no aeration. It will create an awful smell while composting. So the bacteria break down the organic materials into harmful compounds like ammonia and methane. So this will increase the greenhouse gas. Then the next one is the vermicompost. So it is a stable, fine, granular organic matter when added to soil, loosens the soil and provides passage to the air. So when you put this earthworms into the soil, then it will increase the aeration in the soil and it will allow the, that is, it will loosen the soil, it will allow the water to percolate deep into the root system. So which will help in healthy growth of the plant. So the mucus attached to the cast being hygroscopic in nature improve the water holding capacity of the soil. So it will form a vermicast, that is the castings, that is the ficus of the earthworm, we call it as the vermicast. So here this is a small diagram showing the how the worm bin works. So you can stack them in the form of trays, that is you can use trays, that is the plastic trays also can be used. So it can be interlocked in the like stacking, and each tray will be filled with the bedding, that is the bedding is you can use any food waste, vegetable waste, anything can be used, and worms put in the bed. So when the tray is full, then new scraps and bedding can be done in the next tray. So worms, they migrate from once they prepare the vermicast on the top tray, they will migrate to the bottom tray. So like that, after a while, you can see the worm castings gathered in the lower levels, and in the last, from the last tray, if you have a small hole, through that we can collect the worm tea which drips from the bottom of the tray. So this is a very good fertilizer which we can try even at home. So average nutrient composition of vermicompost, we have both the macro and the micronutrients. So the macronutrients availability, they are in different percentages, and the micronutrients, they are required only in minimum quantity. So they are available in parts per million. So besides these nutrients, the vermicompost also contains some growth hormones, vitamins, enzymes, and the microflora like phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, nitrogen fixers, and vesicular or vesicular mycorrhizal fungi are also present. So now we will move on to the preparation of the compost, that is using the kitchen waste. I will give you a short view on how we can prepare the compost using kitchen waste. So normally we throw away the kitchen waste, that is after food waste or the vegetable peelings or the fruit peelings we throw away. But we can utilize for preparing a very good compost. So the organic household refuse is high in nitrogen and it is known as the green composting material. So we need two composting material. One is the green composting material and the other is the brown material. So what we get from the household waste is the green composting material, which is very, very rich in nitrogen content. And this can be compared, this can be mixed with the brown material which have the high carbon content. So for composting, we need the nitrogen as well as the carbon for complete composting. So for the brown items, we can use the straw or the hay and small wood chips, or even the sawdust can be used as a brown material. Or if these are not available, we can use the dead leaves which will be brownish in color. So dead leaves also can be used as a brown material. So it is best to store dry leaves in the fall for use during the rest of the year. So you can collect the dry leaves and you can store it so that you can utilize them for further days to come. But if any organic brown matter is not available, then even the shredded paper or the cardboard can be used. So we should not use the plastic, but the paper can be used. That is, the cut papers or the cardboard can be used as a brown material. So this is the green and brown balance in the compost. So what are the different contents or the components that can be used as greens and browns? So for browns, which gives carbon, we can use dried leaves, straw, shredded paper, dryer lint, newspaper, pine needles, sawdust, and peanut shells. And for the greens, which supply with nitrogen, we can use the kitchen scraps, coffee grounds unfiltered, tea bags, fresh garden trimmings, pet hair, and even the manure from herbivores like poultry, cattle, and goat. So this is a small diagram showing the various components, that is the green and brown materials that is used for composting. So this is again the brown and the green which is used to compost, and when the compost is added to the soil, it increases the growth of the microorganisms like earthworms, insects, bacteria, fungi and microbes, which will increase the fertility of the soil. So composting is actually the nature's way of recycling. So bacteria and fungi can be used as a way to break down the organic waste and turn it back into the soil. So when kitchen scraps, they are thrown away as such, it releases methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So sometimes in hotels and in roadside shops, you can see them wrapping it in plastic bag and throwing it away. The extra food which is wasted, they wrap it in plastic bag and throw it away. But in due course, what happens? The plastic, the food waste from the plastic bag, it emanates or it releases methane gas, which is a greenhouse gas. So that should be avoided. So instead, we can use the food waste as well as the vegetable or the fruit waste for preparing compost at home. So what kind of kitchen refuse can be used for composting? So we should use only the biodegradable material. So those material which cannot be degraded, which will not degrade easily, should not be used. So the material that can be biodegradable alone should be used. So some of the things like we should keep out of the bin is the meat, bones and other animal products which is very difficult to break down. So those products should be avoided from putting into the composting bin. Then the fish products, dairy, animal waste and any kinds of grease or oils, these are all difficult to degrade. So we should avoid the use of these materials in the compost bin. So here you can see the slide showing that is what can be put into the compost and what should not be. So we can use the fruit and vegetable, cooked food, meat and fish bones, tea and coffee, seeds, eggshells, dried flowers and uncoated paper. So that is for the green and the brown material. So what should not go into the bin is that coconut waste, plastic, newspaper, disposables like plastic disposables and the dead animal and poop, the batteries and old medicine, cigarette butts and shiny coated packaging. So all these should be avoided in the compost bin. So this is a small picture of the compost which you can do it at home itself. You can fill it and you can recycle it. You can just mix it with soil and the brown matter, that is the paper or the dried leaves, and you can prepare a compost at home itself. So here eggshells could be added. So we need calcium. So calcium is given by the eggshells. So eggshells can be ground in a mixer and it will serve as a good source of calcium. Then when we are composting, we should not throw the waste materials, that is the food waste or the vegetable peelings or the fruit peelings as such. If we cut them into small pieces and then use it, it will degrade faster. So we should cut the kitchen materials into small pieces and then use it for composting. The smaller scraps have more surface area which will allow the bacteria to break them more quickly. So not only at home, you can also use it in the apartment. We can use a worm bin. So at home, if it is an individual house, we can use it in the ground itself or we can use a pot for composting. But in the case of apartment, we can use a worm bin, which is normally referred to as the vermicomposting method. So after few days, we can see the worms multiplying and you get a nutrient-rich worm castings on top of the bin. So you can collect that and you can put it, you can mix it and you can put it in the field for growth of the plants. So next, coming to the crop residues. So crop residues are nothing but after the harvesting, we have the plants on the field. So those are nothing but the crop residues. So after wheat harvest or the paddy harvest, we have certain plants left over in the field. Those can be used as the crop residues. So the application of mature crop residues such as dried wheat straw, rice straw, paddy husk, etc. in the soil is not a common practice of manuring, but it has been observed by many workers that if such substances are plowed in the soil, they have high nutritional value. So they would have grown well, the plants would have been healthy in the field. So use of those materials will help in increasing the nutritional value of the soil. So now coming to the biofertilizers. What are biofertilizers? So biofertilizers are nothing but the use of microorganisms in fertilizing technique. So that is the biofertilizers. So use of inoculants or cultures containing a specific microorganisms in concentrated form, which are derived either from nodules of plant roots or from the soil of the root zone. That is the rhizosphere soil. We can collect the microorganisms. So this has the ability to fix the atmospheric nitrogen either by symbiotic way or non-symbiotically. So in symbiotic association, as I told earlier, the legume rhizobium symbiosis, wherein the bacteria help in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen and the plant, they support the bacteria. So it is helping the bacteria in holding to the root system. Whereas we have some of the non-symbiotic nitrogen fixing microorganisms also, like Azotobacter. So they are the free living nitrogen fixers. So these microorganisms, they transfer the native soil nutrients such as phosphorus, zinc, copper, iron and sulfur from the non-usable form to the usable form. So the plants, they cannot use directly the available nutrients from the soil. So it should be converted. So in the soil, it will be in the unusable form. So it will be converted into the usable form by the microorganisms present in the soil. So there are different types of biofertilizers, that is the nitrogen fixing biofertilizer and the phosphate solubilizers, which helps in the intake of the phosphorus substance. So nitrogen fixing, it is again divided into the symbiotic and the free living nitrogen fixers. So here we can see the nitrogen fixers, the rhizobium, which is mainly used for the leguminous crops, and the Azotobacter and Azospirillum for the non-leguminous crops, and Acetobacter for sugarcane. So in the case of phosphorus solubilizers and mobilizers, we have the phosphorus solubilizing bacteria which can be used for all the crops, and also the vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza which can be used for all the crops and plants. So here this again the example of the biofertilizers, nitrogen fixing biofertilizers. We have the free living Acetobacter, Beijerinca, Clostridium and Anabina, and the symbiotic ones Rhizobium, Azolla and Frankia, and the associative symbiotic ones the Azospirilla. Whereas in the phosphorus solubilizing biofertilizer, we have the bacteria and fungi. So bacteria, we have the Bacillus species and Pseudomonas species, and in fungi, we have the Penicillium species and Aspergillus avamori. In the phosphorus mobilizing biofertilizer, we have the ectomycorrhiza and the endomycorrhiza, which is nothing but the worm fungus, and the ericoid mycorrhiza and the orchid mycorrhiza. So worm fungus, we have the glomus and gigaspora species. In the ectomycorrhiza, we have Laccaria and Amatita, and in ericoid mycorrhiza, we have Pezizella ericae, and in orchid mycorrhiza, we have the Rhizoctonia solanae. So these are the amount of nitrogen or phosphorus that can be fixed by the potential biofertilizer, that is the organism, microorganism. So the rhizobium, it has the capacity to fix around 30 to 100 kilogram of nitrogen per hectare per season. So similarly, Acetobacter, Azospirillum, Acetobacter, phosphorus solubilizing bacteria and the VAM vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, they can fix the nitrogen and phosphorus in different concentrations. So here this slide shows some of the nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. That is, we have the cyanobacteria, they can be unicellular and non-heterocystous filamentous forms and heterocystous filamentous forms, which has the capacity to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So we have the Aphanotheca, Merismopedia, Chemisiphon, Crucoccus, Cleocapsa, Microcystis, Celospherium, these all belong to the unicellular forms, and we have the Oscillatoria, which belongs to the non-heterocystous filamentous forms, and we have the heterocystous filamentous form like Nostoc, Anabina, Tolipothrix, Rivularia and Sticonema. So now coming to the organic farming and the crop production. So what are the main crops that can be grown organically? So we can grow cereals such as paddy, wheat and maize, the pulses, red gram, black gram, green gram, Bengal gram, and spices, cardamom, black pepper, ginger, turmeric, clove and vanilla, and the vegetables, that is okra, that is the lady's finger, brinjal, tomato, potato, onion and garlic, the fruits, mango, banana, pineapple, grape, orange and cashew nut, the commodity. So these are some of the main crops that can be grown organically in India. So what is the main difference between the conventional method of farming and organic farming? So when we take the conventional farming method, it is based on the economical orientation. But if we use the organic farming, it is mainly to increase the ecological orientation. So it is based on the ecological orientation. And in conventional farming, the supplementing nutrient is by way of chemical fertilizers, whereas in organic farming, we use the organic fertilizers, predominantly the farmyard manures. And in conventional farming, weed control is mainly by herbicide, but here in organic farming, we use crop rotation and cultural practices for weedicide. Then for pest again, in conventional farming, pesticide is used, but here the pest control is mainly based on the non-polluting substances. So we should avoid the use of substances that gives more of pollution in the air. Then livestock is rarely combined, but in the case of organic farming, we use healthy livestock. So livestock production and health. So the ratio, low input is to output ratio with pollution in the case of conventional farming. But in the case of organic farming, we don't have any pollution. So there is optimum input is to output ratio. So this conventional farming, it uses up all the fertility in the soil, from the soil, and leaves only erosion and due course the loss of soil. But by using the organic farming technique, we can increase the soil fertility and the maximum conservation of soil, water quality and wildlife can be done in organic farming. So this slide shows the various greenhouse gas emissions from different sectors. So we have the agriculture sector, which gives around 14% greenhouse gas, industry 19%, forestry 17%, the building, that is the construction 8%, the transport 13%, energy supply 26%, and the wastewater 3%. So the greenhouse gas emissions from all sectors related to agriculture may potentially be sum up to 25 to 30% of all the greenhouse gas emissions. So here in agriculture sector alone, this slide is from Smith et al. 2007. That is, in the agriculture sector alone, we have from rice production, we have methane 11%, from the use of manures 7%, the emissions from the soil 38%, then the biomass burning. Sometimes after harvesting we burn the field. So the biomass burning around 12%, and the enteric fermentation is around 32%, which releases the methane gas. So if you take agriculture, it is the main backbone of our economic system. So it not only provides food and raw materials, but it also gives employment opportunity to most population of the country. So agriculture and farming were synonymous so long as farming was not commercialized. So after globalization, many more occupations allied to farming came to be recognized as part of the agriculture. So we have, apart from agriculture, so in the earlier days we had only land. So most of the people, they were agriculturists and they were farming. But now we have other fields which is emerging, and many people, they are coming from the villages, leaving out all the agriculture, selling out the lands and coming and settling in cities. But this later on increases only the pollution of the city. So biofertilizers are one of the best modern tools for agriculture. So it is a gift of our modern agriculture science, and they are applied in the agriculture field as a replacement of our conventional fertilizers, which consists mainly of the compost, the household waste and the green manures. So what is the basic or the importance of biofertilizers? Why should we use this biofertilizers? So the use of biofertilizers can increase the yield of the plants by 15 to 35%. So in the initial stage, we can see there is low percentage yield, but in the later stage, due to the increase in the fertility of the soil, we can gain the percentage increase. So they are effective even under semi-arid conditions, and the farmers can prepare the inoculum themselves, and they improve the soil texture and do not allow the pathogens to flourish. So only if the pathogens are present in the soil, it will lead to disease of the plants or the crops. So if we increase the mode of organic farming method, then it will not allow any pathogens to survive in the soil and thereby increasing the yield of the crop. So the fertility of the soil must be maintained through use of leguminous crops, green manure crops, and the biodegradable materials are used as manures. So these materials must be of animal or plant origin. So the biodegradable materials should not be of any other type. It should be mainly of animal or plant origin. So the crop and animal residues must be recycled back into the soil directly or indirectly. So manures like vermicompost, farmyard manure, compost, that is the vegetable compost, are allowed, but we should avoid the use of chemical fertilizers. So in case the soil requires mineral-based manuring for organic fields, then the products that can be used for manuring are mulches, slurry, farmyard manure, and crop residues from the farm itself. So bacterial-based biofertilizers, already told, the rhizobium, the azospirillum, and the vermicomposting technique, and we can even use the plant extracts and the plant-based preparations like the neem cake for avoiding the growth of the pathogens. So weed, disease and pest control should be done in organic farming only through crop rotation, natural predators, diversity and organic manuring. So due to the use of this organic farming, what is the benefit we get, or the farmers or the consumers we get? So the farmers, they can reduce their production cost because they can avoid the buying of the chemical fertilizers. So the chemical fertilizers, they are expensive, and if they need not buy any chemical fertilizers. So in the long run, the organic farms, they save energy and protect the environment. Not only that, the organic farming also effectively enhances the soil nourishment, and even the pollution of the groundwater is reduced, and sometimes in due course the pollution is even stopped. So how does this organic farming work? So they build healthy soils by nourishing the living component of the soil, the microbial inhabitants that release, transform and transfer the nutrients. We say even the saliva of the bird, or the coming out, that is the, what you say, the excreta of the bird, If the seed is passed through the digestion tract of the bird, then it has the capacity to grow. So it has all the nutrients necessary for the growth of the plant. So the release or the microbes present in the soil, they release and transform and even transfer the nutrients which help in the growth of the plant. So the soil organic matter contributes to the good soil structure and even the water holding capacity. So introducing vermiculture composting and adopting green manuring is one of the most important technique in organic farming. So this slide already I have discussed what are the salient features, that is the protecting soil fertility, maintaining the level of organic matter and the encouraging biological activity in soils, providing nutrients through the microbial action, using legumes to fulfill the nitrogen requirements of the soil, and recycling the organic matter like crop residues and manures, and effective livestock management by paying special attention to their nutrient requirements, housing, breeding, calving, etc. So we will see few slides on how to prepare the vermicompost. So vermicompost is prepared in a well-defined pit. So you can prepare a pit at the backyard, and suitable earthworm, that is Eisenia fetida, which is a red worm, could be selected, and even abandoned cattle shed or poultry shed or unused building could be used for the vermicomposting process. So what are the different ways that could be used for preparation of vermicompost? We can use banana stem waste, the leaf waste, vegetable waste, lemon waste and the fruit waste. So to all this mixture, we can add the earthworm, which after 45 or 50 days, it will give you a good fertilizer. So direct sunlight should be avoided and rain should be avoided in the shed. And for the production of vermicompost, the crop residue and cattle dung can be used, but we should not use the pig, poultry and the goat waste for the preparation of vermicompost. Whereas the farm waste, vegetable market waste, leaf waste, flower market waste, agro-industrial waste, fruit market waste and all other biodegradable waste can be added into the vermicompost pit. So the cattle dung should be dried in open sunlight, because the cattle dung in few days, 2 or 3 days, there will be some insects growing in the cattle dung. So we should dry the cattle dung in open sunlight before adding into the vermicompost production. So what are the main uses of vermicompost? If we take the compost, it's more than a fertilizer and it will also act as a soil conditioner. So it improves the soil texture as well as the quality, that enables the soil to retain the nutrients, moisture and air for the growth of the healthy crops. So next we move on to Panchagavya. Panchagavya means the 5 products obtained from cow. So the main ingredients are the cow dung, ghee, milk, curd and cow urine. So these are the main 5 ingredients which we use for Panchagavya. For the preparation, we can add the puvan banana, water and jaggery. So initially the cow dung and ghee were taken in a wide mouth pot and thoroughly mixed in the morning and evening, and it is kept undisturbed for 3 days. Then after it gets settled, then we can add the cow's urine and water, then mix regularly for another 15 days. After that, the rest of the ingredients such as curd, milk, jaggery and puvan banana are added and left to settle for 15 days. So it takes around 35 to 40 days to prepare this Panchagavya. So it can be stored in a wide mouth pot as open in the shade and covered with a plastic mosquito net to prevent the growth of the house flies and laying of eggs from the house flies. So sufficient shade should be provided and the prepared Panchagavya solution can be diluted before spraying onto the plant. So we can prepare the Panchagavya also at home and we can use it for the plants. So now moving on to the sustainable agriculture. So sustainable agriculture depends on three main aspects, that is the ecology, economy and the social responsibility. So ecologically sound, respect for the environment and economically viable and socially just, provide social benefits to the farmer, the farm workers as well as the community. So organic farming is an ecological production management because it promotes and enhances the biodiversity, promotes biological cycles and also soil biological activity with minimal use of off-farm inputs and employs management practices that restore, maintain and enhance the ecological harmony. So these are the three spheres of sustainability. So we need to maintain the ecological sustainability, social sustainability as well as the economical sustainability. So social sustainability is mainly for improving the quality of life, education, community development, equal opportunity and law and ethics, and the economy for smart growth, long range planning, cost savings, R&D spending as well as the cost of living, and the environmental for resource management, environmental protection and habitat restoration and preservation. So when we go through all these three, that is the social, economy and the environment, we get the sustainability or the environmental sustainability. So these are the main three pillars where when we add this economic with social, we get an equitable sustainability, and the social with environment, we get a bearable sustainability, and when economy and environment is added, we get viable sustainability. But when we have all the three, we get the actual sustainable agriculture. So the importance of sustainable agriculture, we have the soil rejuvenation, the water conservation, pest control, the agricultural methods, and seed collection, preservation, utilization and sharing. So what is biodiversity? So biodiversity, I told you already, biodiversity is nothing but the diverse forms of plants as well as the animals. So in animals, we can include the birds and other organisms. So it is an insurance for the future. It provides the variability on which every species relies to help to adapt to change. For this reason alone, it is important to maintain or improve the biodiversity. So we have different species in the diverse forms, that is the earthworms, butterflies, spiders, beetle, birds. So now coming to the advantages of organic farming. So it increases the resistance to the pests and diseases, allows specialization opportunities, and this organic farming supports a healthier soil and supports pollinators, and there are no worries about genetically modified foods with organic farms. The working environment, since there is no pollution due to use of organic fertilizers, the working environment becomes healthier. The organic farmers can often create their own fertilizers at their farming location, and it can be implemented in almost any geographic location or growing season. But there are disadvantages of organic farming also, because initially it will not reach people, so it cannot be multiplied. So there are no subsidies offered for most organic farmers, and it requires more work to produce goods that are ready for sale. And the organic farmers must have specific knowledge about localized growing system. So they should learn the process of cultivating, process of preparing this organic fertilizers and how to use it. So they should have a specific knowledge, and there are again unique marketing challenges in place for the organic goods, and the organic farms and foods must go through a rigorous certification process. So it should be certified, then only it can be marketed. So it usually costs more to be competitive with organic farming, and there are different levels. In United States, there are different levels of organic permitted in the United States. And the synthetic chemicals should be altogether avoided in organic farming. But the only main disadvantage is that the organic crops, they generally spoil faster. So So we need to use the organic crops, organically grown crops fast. We need to utilize them earlier stage itself. So with this, I stop on the organic farming, and I would like to move on to some of the research work done by my MSc student and my MPhil student based on this organic procedures. So the work was done with 3 biofertilizers, that is the azospirillum, vesicular arbosicular mycorrhiza and phosphobacteria. So they were added individually and in combination also, and they were compared with the control plants. So this is the in okra plant, that is Abelmoschus esculentus, the growth of the okra plant on the 30th day. So we can see an increase in the shoot length, root length, the number of leaves and fresh weight and dry weight in the plants treated with the combination of the biofertilizers. So initially we can see only if the biofertilizers were added in combination. So only if we go to the field, this is only under pot culture study, only if we go to field we need to standardize and we need to apply the fertilizers. So this is again the same plant on the 45th day. You can see the flowering as well as the fruiting stage. So here again the shoot length, root length, the fresh weight and the dry weight were higher, significantly higher in the plants treated with the combination of fertilizers, and the number of leaves was higher when VAM was treated. So here the same plant on the 60th day. Here again it was more when combination of fertilizers were added. So this slide shows the growth parameters of Amaranthus tricolor, that is the greens, using the same combination of fertilizers. So here again we can see the growth was more when a combination of fertilizers were used. Only thing is the shoot length was more when azospirillum was used. So here on the 45th day again, this Amaranthus tricolor, it grew only up to 45 days. So after 45 days we could harvest the greens. So it was more when the combination of fertilizers were used. So this is Solanum lycopersicum, that is the tomato. So here again this is on the 30th day. So it was more when combination of fertilizers were used. So on the 45th day, so this again the same result. So on the 60th day you can see the fruits also. So on the 60th day. So this is another kind of Amaranthus variety, Amaranthus viridis, on the 30th day. This is on the 45th day. So this is on the. So this is 9 different treatments were given for Solanum lycopersicum, that is the organic fertilizer and the biofertilizer. That is the comparison of organic fertilizer and the biofertilizer. So the organic fertilizers selected were vegetable compost, vermicompost and panchagavya. And the biofertilizers selected were azospirillum, blue-green algae and phosphobacteria. So those 3 were mixed and added also, and all the 6, that is 3 organic and 3 biofertilizers were mixed together, and the 9th treatment were given. They were evaluated against the control. So in the germination, so the seeds germinated, that is there was 100% germination when azospirillum was added. That is the seeds were treated with azospirillum, it showed 100% germination. So the shoot length on the 15th, 30th, 45th, 60th and 75th day, they were compared, and it was more in azospirillum treated plants and later in the azospirillum and the phosphobacteria treated plants. So root length again, it was more in T4, and number of leaves of tomato, it was again estimated on the 15th day, 30th day, 45th in T1. On the 15th day it was more in T1, and on 30th day both T2 and T3 showed the same result, and on the 45th, 60th and 75th day it was more in azospirillum treated plants. So the fresh weight of the plant was taken, that is once the plants are plucked for measuring, they were taken, the fresh weight was taken. So similar results were observed. So T4, that is the azoospermum treated plants, showed fresh weight, more fresh weight, that is significantly higher weight, the 15th day, 60th day and 75th day. The T7 on the 45th day and T8 on the 30th day. So the same plants were dried by keeping it in hot air oven at controlled temperature, and it showed a higher, that is significantly higher reading in T4 on the 45th day, 60th day and 75th day, and T7 showed higher reading on 15th day, and T8, that is the use of mixture of organic fertilizer, that is the biofertilizers, showed higher dry weight of tomato plant on the 30th day. So the number of flowers, the flowers started growing from the 45th day. So the flowers were estimated on the 45th, 60th and 75th day, and we could see more flowers on the in T4 plants, that is the plants treated with azospirilla. Then the number of fruits started forming on the 60th day, and it was more again in azospirillum treated plants. So this is the pot study which is made for her MPhil thesis work, that is on the 15th day, 30th day, 45th and 60th day. So there was one more study made on the phosphobacteria, azospirillum and spent mushroom compost, that is the use of spent mushroom compost. That is, we are actually growing mushroom and pleurotus mushroom, and this compost, that is the straw after harvesting the mushroom, could be used as a compost for growing the plants. So here, this is the plant, that is the Abel moschus, that is the okra, growth of okra under 4 different treatments, that is control and 3 different treatments. So this is the parameters. So we can see the growth on the 15th day, then the 30th day and the 45th day. So here we can see the growth was more in phosphobacteria treated plants. So here you can see the growth of the flowers, the flowering of the okra. So the seed dispersal, and similarly the same treatment was given to Solanum lycopersicum. So feeding the soil rather than feeding the plant is the main technique that should be used in organic farming. So to conclude with, I would like to say that organic farming in India is a safe venture, although it may take a while to establish and become fully functional, and there are government subsidies available for the commercial aspects. So organic farming in India is very profitable if it is strictly followed, and also it requires certification which has to be acquired, and then we can access to the market. We can grow healthy crops at lower cost, and the continuous use of organic fertilizers keep our body healthy and maintain the ecosystem. Not only our generation, this will allow the next generation to breathe the clean air. So what we give to the next generation is only the fresh air, not any other cash to be kept. We need to give them fresh air along with unpolluted water and air for them to breathe and survive. So I take this opportunity to thank our Vice Chancellor Madam, Dr. Premavati Vijayan, Registrar Dr. S. Kausalya Madam, Dean School of Biosciences Dr. A. Vijayalakshmi, HOD in charge Dr. M.K. Nisha, and all the other staff members of our department for supporting me in the presentation of the webinar. My heartfelt thanks are due to Dr. Debabrata Das, who inspired me to give this webinar. My thanks are due to Dr. G. Maheshwari, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, for her support. My acknowledgements are due to Creative Commons, from which I have selected the images for this webinar, and also the Google search engine that helped me a lot in preparing this webinar during the pandemic situation. Last but not the least, I thank our Chancellor, Dr. S.P. Tyagarajan sir, who is the inspiring professor who gives inspiration to all people. Thank you. So eat organic, dream organic, and live organic. So that is what I would like to say. So thank you one and all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madam V. Gayathri, our resource person for today's event, for delivering a wonderful presentation on the topic organic farming, sustainable agriculture for future. Ma'am, there are some questions for you, and I would request our participants to post their questions in the chat box, or they can also unmute themselves and ask a question to our respected resource person, Dr. Gayathri Madam. The question which I am presenting to you, ma'am, is like asked by Dr. Ahmed. He is saying that everything is fine, but what about the government subsidies to fund these researchers? Like, what type of government subsidies and projects are available to like advance these type of researchers? He's actually asking, ma'am.
Ma'am, we have in science and technology, we have subsidies, but we need to move along with the NGOs or some product development. So organic farming alone will not be enough. So we need to give the product also from the organic farming. So we need not only the cultivation process, we need to produce a product and give to the society. So that will only will fetch you the funding.
Okay, ma'am. So I think Dr. Ahmed, that answers your question. Thank you so much, ma'am. Any other questions to ma'am? Participants can unmute themselves and ask one by one. Dr. Vidyanath, if you don't want to ask a question, then please mute yourself. Okay, so I guess, ma'am, it was a very good presentation, and I have learned a lot, like Dr. Mithu Madam said, about the green manure and the brown manure, which is very like informative, because we only knew about green manure and never knew about brown manure. So that was very nice. And thank you so much, ma'am, for answering the questions. And I would now request our organizer, Dr. Pampi Ghosh, ma'am, to deliver the final vote of thanks to our respected resource person. Over to you, Pampi, ma'am.
Thank you, Arnaba. Thank you, Gayathri Madam, for your beautiful lecture. This type of composting we can easily do in our house if we take initiative. These are not only for making compost, but other way for freeing our environment from pollutants. This is our today's need. There is many scope of application of organic manure and biofertilizer in different type of crop production. So your lecture touch all the nooks and corner about the organic farming. Very good lecture, ma'am. Very good.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you all the participants and Dr. Das also. Thanks to all and good night. We are at the end of this program. So goodbye to all. This is the end of this program.
Can I log off, ma'am?
Madam?
Can I log off?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Debabrata Das, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
One question is there, madam.
Please.
Shomi Bhattacharya. Are onion really good for composting? This is her question.
What?
Onion.
Yes, onion. Onion, yes. Onion peels can be used, really used. It can be used, and even if you don't want to put the whole onion peel as such, you can just soak in water in the morning, and the water alone can be used up. You can filter it and use it for using in the plant. You can
It
throw
is
off.
good for calcium and phosphorus also, madam.
Yes, yes, yes.
For flowering, it is very good.
Yes, it is actually good. Yes.
Yes.
Any other question, ma'am?
No question. I enjoy your lecture very much, madam, today. Actually,
Thank
I
you.
am in this field.
Okay.
That's why I do much.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you to all. Thank you all.